Well, what's going on, everybody? I think it's time. Yes, it's time for the book of Acts. Well, what's going on, people? We're here. I'm here. My goodness. And I think it's time for us to get into it. Glad to be here. Welcome to the first episode or the first chapter of the book of Acts. Let me explain while I'm here, since this is the first episode. I called it the book of Acts. And Acts, not the Acts of the Bible, but the book of Acts. Apostle Chris Tyson Sr. Ha ha. Thought I'd throw a little spin on that. First chapter of the book of Acts. And so I'm here just to share and just to talk with my people. And my goal, again, is to edify and to build up and encourage the saints. And so, that's why I'm on here. And we're going to talk about some subjects. I want to talk about some things and clarify some things, if you will. And we can get down into it, everybody. I mean, you all have access. You can ask questions. You can do whatever, There we go. Trying to get stuff together. And we can talk about some things. We can share some things. And I want to get into some stuff. I'll have some guests that'll be chiming in. And that'll be talking and sharing their expertise and sharing their information as well as we get into this thing. And this is my first episode. I've not done these before, but we're going to go and grow together. Amen. And so let's get on into it. First thing I wanted to throw out was have an opportunity to share. We do a lot of outreach, and I have an opportunity to participate in a blanket outreach, if you will. Call it a blanket, because I have some people that working with a ministry that need blankets for the homeless, because it's cold outside and we want to share the warmth, if you will, and provide some blankets for those that are out in the elements, have to brave the elements because of whatever situation that has come into their lives that caused them to be out in the elements like that. And so, even in the communities and the air, especially the DC area or the city areas, you have a lot of homeless. And so we want to be a blessing to them in the area of providing blankets, if you will, providing blankets. And so I want to, if there's anyone out here interested, if you have some old blankets that you don't use, if you can wash them and fold them and get them to me, that would be awesome. You can hit me up in Messenger, if you will, and just say, Pastor, I got some blankets I want to share. Or if you just want to donate, I have somewhere that I can order blankets by bulk, and they're good blankets. They're good for heat, if you will, and they are at a nominal price. I will say, if you could donate at least $10, if you don't mind, if you want to participate in sharing the warmth, if you will, we'll call it Operation Sharing the Warmth. Yeah, that's what we'll call it, Operation Sharing the Warmth. And we want to provide some blankets for those that are in need. So if you want to participate and you want to share in that, I'll give you the opportunity. If you want to, you can Cash App. You can sow by Cash App. The Cash App is on the screen. If you don't mind, if you want to donate $10 towards a blanket, If you want to donate $5 towards a blanket, whatever you donate is acceptable. Whatever you want to donate is acceptable. And we're going to buy blankets in bulk, and we're going to go out in the community. We're going to go out in the city, and we're going to just provide blankets for those that are in need. So yeah, that's Operation Share the Warmth, if you will. And this is an outreach that we're going to sow in. And we're going to share that. We're going to share that love. We're going to share the warmth with those. And this is what the Lord calls us to. It's our opportunity. This is a time for us to sow. This is a time for us to be a blessing. All right. I give everybody a hand that's going to sow a seed into Operation Share the Warmth. That's good. That's good. And so with all of that, we want to, even during this crisis time, this pandemic time, we want to be able to share. We want to be able to give. That's how God bless us. He blesses us, and we in turn ought to bless others. And I thank all y'all for chiming in. All of you that are on and those that are coming on, I just thank you for just being in a position to just communicate and to fellowship with me in this podcast time. All right. And so even with all of that, again, this is my first episode or the first chapter in the book of Acts. And let's talk, let's share. And as people come on, if you got questions, if you want to throw something out there that we can talk about, let's do that. But there was something that was, I don't know, that was weighing on my heart, and we kind of hit on just a little smidgen of it earlier this morning in our leadership sessions. And one of the things that kind of hit me throughout the week as I began to ponder on topics and issues and things that go on in our daily lives and in the life of the church, especially as it connects to the saints of God. I want to make sure I get my volume good. I don't want to be blaring. If my voice is blaring on this, y'all let me know. But even on all of this, I want to make sure that we talk about some things, and that we get some issues straight. There's a lot of things that we deal with, even when sometimes we don't deal with it as much in churchdom as we should, or even amongst ourselves. And I know this is football day, wild card weekend, and a lot of folk into the wild card, but that's all right. I got my screen on, and yep, I'm looking at Seattle and the Rams work it out right here on the big screen. But be that as it may, I said that I was going to come on and do the podcast on this evening, and so I'm here. And if anybody else is on here, give me a thumbs up, give me a hand, give me a clap or something. Somebody say hello. Let me know you're on. I see Lavender's on. I see Tanya is on. Was on and gave me a good clap or hello. And yep, we're here and we're going to talk. One of the issues I find with a lot of us is, and I still have the Cash App up just in case anybody wants to sow. And again, this is for Operation Share the Warmth, not share the wealth, but share the warmth. And again, we're sowing seed into the homeless as far as providing blankets for the winter. And so that's why you see the Cash App up. And so if you want to sow a seed for that into that ministry, please do so. We give you that opportunity. All right. And so I think I was going to deal with or talk about a very rough issue, something that a lot of us deal with, a lot of people deal with, and that is in the area of unforgiveness. And that is a rough area, unforgiveness, because whether we know it or not, a lot of people walk around and we talk every day, and we go to work and we do church, we do whatever, but within us, some of us still walking around with unforgiveness in our heart. And I wanted to talk about some of the perils of living in unforgiveness. And I know, we say we don't walk around in unforgiveness, or that we forgive everybody, but do we really forgive? And then we can talk about that too. I know a lot of times we say, I forgive, but I don't forget. But how true is that? Is that really a true statement? I heard that the other day, and I ran across a topic this morning that was that says something to the effect of, I forgive you, but I can't forget it. I forgive you, but I can't forget it. And I wanted to talk about how true is that saying. And again, this is my topic for today, and it might even spill over into volume 2, or the second chapter of the book of Acts. But I forgive you, but I don't forget. I can't forget it. Man, that's a rough one. That's a hard one. And like I said, I hear that often, and we even did teaching on it, and it came up in classes, and we say, I can forgive you, but I can't forget it. I forgive, but I don't forget. Now, I wonder where we are with that. And we want to talk about that, because if that be the case, then there are some issues that we need to work out with the person that we have the unforgiveness with, or the one that we said that we forgive. Because unforgiveness, if you're not careful, if you don't deal with it correctly, will cause bitterness to arise in your heart, will cause bitterness. And not only bitterness, but it'll cause a myriad of things. I'm telling you, unforgiveness is a beast if we're not careful and we don't deal with it correctly. Unforgiveness is a beast, man. So that's one thing we, as the saints, we have to make sure that we deal with unforgiveness, because, man, unforgiveness is something great. It's a hard thing that we have to deal with, because if we don't, again, we can damage our lives, and we can damage not only our lives or ourselves, we damage others. We put others in harm's way when we walk around in unforgiveness. I think Jesus said it this way over in the book of Matthew. He says, love your enemies. And then he said, bless them that curse you. Man, I'm telling you, Jesus put out some stuff out there. So we hear that often. I hear it often. I forgive you, but I can't forget. I forgive you, but I can't forget. So if anybody on here, and if this is you, if this is your feeling, if this is how you do, let's chat about it. Let's talk about it. I forgive you, but I can't forget. When we say that, I feel like we put ourselves in the position where every time I remember that, it does something to me, or I allow it to kind of control my life. I'm just throwing some stuff out here, not getting deep in it until somebody engage. And so when we talk about, I can forgive you, but I can't forget it. My question is, can you really forget it? Can you really forget what the issue was, or the damaging thing that somebody did to you? Can you really forget that and move past that and walk in love and walk in unity and walk in a sense of healing, if you will, with your brothers and sisters? Can we get past that? Can we get past the damaging thing, the wound, the causing of the wound, the causing of the pain? Can we get past all of that and let's grow and let's love one another and let's move on? Jesus said again, love your enemies. And then the question would arise, who is my enemy? There's a lot of stuff to this spin. There's a lot of things to this. Who is my enemy? Then he said, bless them that curse you. And then look what he said, do good to them that hate you. Oh man, the people that did all of those things against us, he says, do them good. Man, and I know some of us have been we've been in some hurtful places. We've been hurt. We've been damaged. We've been wounded. How did we get past that? Or then have we ever gotten past that? How did we get through that? How did we recover from being hurt? How did we recover from being wounded? Have we really forgiven the person or the people that have done those things to us? And so then, as children of God, this is something that we've got to look at. This is something that we have to deal with in our lives, because we can't walk around in unforgiveness. So how do we deal with it? How do we handle unforgiveness? Can I just continue to hate on somebody because I know what they did to me, and what they did to me really hurt me? Man, you really messed me up. You really turned my world upside down. You turned my world upside down. And so since you caused me that harm, you did that to me, I can't forgive you. I won't talk to you. Anything I see concerning you brings a sense of hate to me, or cause me to feel, like we say, some kind of way. I feel some kind of way anytime I see anything about you. Is that a way for us to live? To allow a feeling to control us to the point where it causes us to walk in unforgiveness, or in an area that God does not want us to live in or to even dwell in? Man, oh man. And so unforgiveness, we've got to handle that. We've got to deal with unforgiveness. Unforgiveness, there's a price to pay. I'll say it like that. There's a price to pay when we walk in unforgiveness. Unforgiveness causes us to pay a price that we really can't afford. Unforgiveness causes us to pay a price that we really don't want to pay. Have you ever been somewhere and you saw something that you really wanted, but the price was so enormous, it was so ridiculous? It's just, take for instance, right now, even in the pandemic, because of this pandemic, there are some items that we used to would buy. We wouldn't buy it, I would say, every day or every week. But when we needed it, we could go to the store and get it, and it was at a nominal cost. I'll say Lysol. It was at a nominal cost. Lysol ran somewhere around $2.50, maybe $3, maybe $3 or so. But now, since the demand for it is so great, the price for it has skyrocketed. I've seen people selling Lysol for $20 and $25. To me, that's ridiculous. But some people pay that price. If they really want it, they pay that price. Me, I don't want to pay. I'm not going to pay $20 and $25 for a $2 and $3 can of Lysol. But it's a hefty price to pay. It's a ridiculous price, but somebody is paying the price. Somebody decided that they want that, and they're going to pay the price. So the same thing with unforgiveness. Unforgiveness comes with a hefty price tag. Lord, man, I'm telling you. And some folk are willing to pay the price for unforgiveness. Some folk are willing to pay the price for unforgiveness. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm not going to pay that price. I don't want to pay the price. I don't want to pay that enormous price tag that unforgiveness holds. And so when we look at unforgiveness and you weigh the pros and cons of this thing, you take the pros and cons and you put them side by side, you will quickly find out that unforgiveness is not worth having. Unforgiveness is not worth holding on to. When you put the pros and cons of unforgiveness side by side on a paper, you will quickly see that unforgiveness is not worth it. It is not worth it. And when we think about what the Lord requires of us and how he has forgiven us, isn't that a great thing? Have you ever thought about you said $10.50 at the flea market? Lord have mercy. $10.50 at the flea market. They're making a killing on selling Lysol. I'm telling you, they're selling. I see them out on the side of the road sometimes up here on Branch Avenue, $20 and $25 for a can, man, and people buying it. And again, people are walking in unforgiveness and paying the price for it. People are living and walking in unforgiveness and are willing to pay the price. They are willing to pay for that. But there are no cons to it. What is the benefit? What do I benefit? Ask yourself, what can I benefit from walking in unforgiveness? Man, I tell you, to me, there is no benefit. So in that aspect, then, if you look at what Jesus talks about, or if we're ever students of the Bible says that we should forgive. Jesus said that we should forgive. He says, if I can forgive you of your trespasses, then you ought to be able to forgive others for their trespasses against you. Oh, man, don't you understand? Jesus forgave you of all of your ill will and your ill actions towards him. He forgave us of all that. And so that goes back to my question I threw out, how we say, I can forgive you, but I can't forget it. I can forgive you, but I can't forget it. And my question is that a logical answer? Is that a viable place for us to walk in? I can forgive you, but I can't forget. And I've heard some people say that. I will forgive, but I can't forget. And so I want somebody to come on and give me their position on that. Pastor Lavin, if you want to come on, I can bring you on. I can forgive you. Somebody say, honestly, until we forgive, we remain in the enemy's grip. Lord, you better talk. You better talk, Elaine. You better talk. Until we forgive. And see, this is why so many of us cannot walk in true deliverance, because we're still walking around with unforgiveness in our heart. We're still walking around with an unforgiveness heart, or an unforgiving heart. And when we do that, when we walk in unforgiveness, we give the enemy the ability or the go ahead to put his hands on our life or to hold us in his grip. Did you hear what I say? When we walk in unforgiveness, we give the enemy the ability, or we open the door and give him access to put his hands on our life and to grip us. Man, that's how crazy unforgiveness is. That's how crazy unforgiveness is. Do you hear what I'm saying? That's how crazy unforgiveness is. Now, we were talking about unforgiveness, and we were dealing with I forgive you, but I can't forget. And so in dealing with unforgiveness, we've got to make sure that that we are in the position to receive from God. And like I said earlier, a lot of us, we are walking around all day long in a place of unforgiveness. You sure, Pastor? I sent the link to you the last time. I sent it twice. But where was I? I'll say this: unforgiveness disqualifies us. If you think about it, unforgiveness disqualifies us, puts us in a place to be disqualified. In Matthew chapter 6, Jesus says, "But if you forgive not men their trespasses," then he says, "neither will your Father forgive your trespasses." So if we don't forgive, or if we walk in unforgiveness, we will be disqualified to be forgiven by the Father. Isn't that something? I don't know about you, but I don't want to be walking around disqualified. I don't want to be walking around disqualified. I want to be right. I want to be in right relationship. I want to be in right standing with God. And in order to do that, this entails also me being in right standing and right relationship with you. Sometimes we worry about the vertical and we're not worried about the horizontal, but God wants us to be correct horizontally as well as vertically. And so, unforgiveness is a rough thing. It disqualifies, and this is the cost. And I talked about how unforgiveness has a hefty price tag and it costs a lot. So what are the costs then? What are the costs of walking in unforgiveness? For one thing, like I just mentioned, it disqualifies us from being forgiven by God. It disqualifies us because if we can't forgive our brothers or our sisters or anyone else, then we are disqualified from receiving forgiveness from God. And I just read you the scripture. If you forgive not men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive you of your trespass. And we pray, like, in the Lord's Prayer, forgive our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Now, watch what we're saying in that verse. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Listen what we say. Forgive us our trespass as we give those who trespass against us. So as we do it, my God, oh man, when we don't forgive, neither will your heavenly Father forgive your trespasses. So I don't see how we can, as children of God, walk around in unforgiveness. I don't see how we choose to do that and pay the price tag, pay the hefty price tag for unforgiveness. I just can't do it. I've done it. I did it some time ago, and thank God that He taught me how to break that. He taught me how to get out of that, and that I cannot live like that as a child or a saint. I cannot live like that, but I have to move forward in God and move forward with my people, because we cannot walk in unity living in unforgiveness. So number one, unforgiveness causes us to forfeit being forgiven by God. Matthew talks to us about the account of a master who forgave his servant. Y'all remember that story? A master forgave his servant. I think it's over in Matthew chapter 18. He forgave him a large debt. He forgave him a huge debt. And when in turn he goes to the one that owes him way less than what he owed his master. And he went after him and would not forgive that dude of the debt that he owed. You gonna pay me my 5 cents? I want my 5 cents, or you know what is gonna break loose. He owed his master $5,000, but this man owed him 5 cents, and he would not even release that man. He wouldn't let that man go. He would not forgive that man of his debt. And so his master got angry when he saw how he treated him. Man, after his master had forgiven him that large debt, and he saw how he treated the one that owed him the 5 cents. I'm just using 5 cents, the small debt. The master saw this and he was grieved. He was angry with this. And so listen what the master said. Over in Matthew 18, he said, and his Lord was wroth. He was angry. And he took that man and delivered him to the tormentors. Man, he delivered that man to the tormentors. Isn't that something? Oh my God. Till he should pay all that was due unto him. Now watch what happened here. Look at what happened. He was forgiven that large debt. But because he walked in unforgiveness, what was initially forgiven him, he now owed. It came back upon him, and he now had to pay that debt. Man, I know that's right, Pastor. It's not worth it. It is not worth it. It is not worth it. And so, because he would not pay that debt, his debt, because he would not forgive somebody that owed him, his forgiveness was reversed. And now he was required to pay everything that he owed. And so he lost out. He lost that. Man, that is crazy. I'm telling you, unforgiveness is not worth it. Unforgiveness is not worth it. Is not worth it. And so as we walk around daily, we ought to pray and ask God to help us if we're walking in a state of unforgiveness. Because if we are, we're walking around unhealthy. All right. Watch this. Unforgiveness will cause the root of bitterness to arise in our heart. And this is a crazy question. How many times, or have we ever walked around in or had bitterness in our heart towards somebody? Have we ever had to deal with a root of bitterness springing up in us? And that's a rhetorical question. You don't have to throw your answer out there if you don't want to. But we just talking. Got a few more minutes. We just talking. Root of bitterness. Root of bitterness. Bitterness. Man. What did Hebrews 12 say? Looking diligently lest any man fail of the grace of God. If God had showed you grace, then we should be able to show others grace. If God had mercy on you, then we should be able to have mercy on others. Man, but we get caught up in our feelings so much. We get so hung up on our feelings, how we were hurt and how we were damaged and how you made me feel. I don't like you because you did this. You were so and all of this kind of carrying on. Come on. We sounded like Yosemite Sam. Razzle, frazzle, snazzle. And got caught up in our feelings, man. I'm telling you. Somebody said yes at one time. Thank God that was at one time. And so that root of bitterness, if we're not careful, a root of bitterness will arise in our heart. Now that word bitterness is translated in the Greek as something sharp, a pointed, penetrating pain. It was something that caused pain. And so if we're not careful, that root of bitterness springs up in us and it causes pain, so that every time I think about the action or the deed, it causes me trauma. It causes me pain. And when it causes me pain, I take my pain out. I take my suffering out on that person that caused me pain. And watch this, not only on that person, but on others around me. Man, have you ever been in pain and somebody, touched you and you yelled back, don't touch me, don't move me? No, because that pain, you don't want to be bothered. That pain puts you on the defensive. Man, I hear you, Pastor, feeling bad. And that person is having a good, yet you have headaches and high blood pressure and all. Yes. All because unforgiveness. You see how unforgiveness can control our lives. It can control our life living. It can make our lives miserable. Yes, hurt people hurt people. Unforgiveness can make our lives miserable. Man, I'm telling you, it can make our lives miserable. And so that bitterness, if we walk in unforgiveness, it can cause bitterness to spring up in us. He says, looking diligently, lest any man fail of the grace of God or forget the grace of God on their lives. And you not show grace to somebody else, what's going to happen is you're going to harbor all of those feelings, and it's going to put you, like we say, in some type of way. And then he says, lest any root of bitterness, that pain, that anguish, that torment that thing has caused you, spring up. My God, any root of bitterness spring up, because there's action with bitterness. And watch, he said, and that bitterness trouble you. Man, isn't that something? Oh my God, lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you, and thereby many be defiled. That's why I said that bitterness, that pain that comes up when you think about that action, when you think about that person, when you think about what was done, that pain arises, and then you defile others because you take that pain out on them. My goodness, you take that pain out on them. You take your anguish out on them. And not only just on them, you never forgive the person that harmed you. My God, he said you miss out on functions because the offender that hurt you is there. And you don't even want to see them. I don't even want to look their way out of, and any little thing come up with them, something in you arise. Something hurts you. That pain comes back to haunt you. That's when you talk about that bitterness, that every time you see that person, every time you think about that person, every time you hear their name, that pain comes back to haunt you. That thought arises and that pain hits you, and there you go. I can't stand that person. I can't stand so and so. Ooh, I hate their guts. And if looks could kill, man, sometimes the way we look at them, I'm telling you, if looks could kill. We're talking about unforgiveness, y'all. For those that came on the time that we're talking about unforgiveness, and we talking about the price of unforgiveness. We just throwing it out there. We're talking about the price. There is a price to pay for unforgiveness, for walking around in unforgiveness. And one of those we're talking about is the root of bitterness. How bitterness is painful both to the one who is bitter and towards the one who the bitterness is directed towards. Yes, I hear you, Elder Neil. We must heal. Because we've been wounded. And here it goes. It leads back to my initial question when I first came on, that if you've ever been wounded, when that pain is there and you see that wound, or you're treating that wound, you're dealing with that wound, you know exactly how you got that wound and who did it or where you were when you got it. Every time you feel that pain or you look at that wound, you know how you got it. And that pain is there. That pain serves as a constant reminder of something damaging happening to you. That pain is a constant reminder that you were wounded. You were hurt. I want to make sure my volume is not up too high. What it sound like, y'all? That pain is a constant reminder. That pain serves as a reminder of what happened. Now, at some point, that wound has to heal. I'll do it like this. When I was young, one of the kids in the neighborhood had a bicycle, and they were riding the bike around, and they was in the alley, and we all went out and looking at their bike. Ooh, look at their bike. You know, they got a bike or whatever. And I'm looking at the bike. I didn't know how the bike functioned. I was small. I didn't know how the bike functioned, but it was mesmerizing to me. And somebody got on a bike and they was riding and they was doing all of that. And so I'm looking at the bike and I'm looking at the parts, and they were sitting on the bike, you know, and we were all huddled around and we're looking at the bike. And I put my finger on the chain near the gear. I put my finger on the chain. And when I put my finger on the chain, they pushed the pedal, and the gear and the chain went in motion, and my finger got caught under the gear, or between the gear and the chain. And this is why I have this scar on my finger even today. Watch this. I'm 52 years old. Yeah, I just told my age. Y'all hear what I'm saying? I'm 52 years old. This happened, I would say, approximately around 6 or 7. Around 6 or 7 years old, this happened to my finger. I am 52 years old, and this scar still reminds me of what happened. I still remember. And watch this. When it happened, it was painful. My whole fingernail turned black. The thing was bleeding. My mama had to get the scissors and finish taking the fingernail off, because the fingernail was coming off. The fingernail was coming off. It's coming totally off. And if you ever had a fingernail that was torn, Lord have mercy, the fingernail was off. And so I had to walk around with that thing bandaged. Watch this. The bandage reminded me of the trauma. The pain reminded me of the trauma, and the wound reminded me of the trauma. Not only those three, the bicycle reminded me of the trauma. The person on the bike reminded me on the trauma. All of those things can play. So when you think about the bike, Lord, that bike tore my finger up. When you think about the person, Lord, that person tore my finger up. When you think about the pain, man, my finger was hurting so bad. When you think about the wound, my fingernail came off. Man, that thing was rough. But over time, the wound healed. I forgot all about the person. I don't even know who the person was. All I know is it was a bicycle. All I know is it was a bicycle. This finger got hurt on a bicycle. And after the years of healing, watch this, the pain is gone. When you touch it, there is no pain. When I think about the bike, there is no pain. I can remember what happened, but there is no pain associated with it. I remember how it happened, but there is no pain associated with it. Sometimes we think about things that happen to us and there's still pain attached to that because we've not healed. We're still hurting. And Pastor Lavin said it. Hurt people, I think it was Pastor Lavin, hurt people, hurt people. Oh man, yes, unforgiveness leads to sin. Yes, if it leads to all, it leads to sin. The pain is gone. That's right, elder. The pain is gone. Leslie said God will allow you to forget the pain, but we may not forget the situation or how it got there. That's right. We may not forget. But guess what? I do forget. Guess what? I don't have, because I'm sure I cried and I looked at that person. Oh, why you do that? You know, my finger was there. Why you do that? Guess what? The pain is gone. I forgot all of that. I don't even remember the person. I don't even remember the feeling that I had towards the person for pushing that pedal down when my finger was on that chain. Watch this. I'm sure it was done. Well, I hope it was done. Let's say it like this. Suppose it was done accidentally. Suppose it was done accidentally. They didn't know my finger was there. They were sitting on the bike and they were talking and they do, normal reaction and push the pedal and my finger got caught. Suppose they didn't know they did that. It was an accident, but that accident caused me to get damaged. I still got damaged. Now take it another way. Suppose it wasn't an accident. I still got damaged, but that person might have meant to hurt me. Sometimes we mean to hurt people. Sometimes we don't. We do it, unintentionally. We do it intentionally and we do it unintentional. Unintentional, sometimes we can deal with, but there's still a pain there that we can we can deal with. It's the intentional ones most of the times that do us in, that we get stuck at. The intentional damaging, the intentional wounding. That means you had to think about hurting me. You had some time to think about what you're doing to me. And you could control what you did to me, whether it was going to happen or not. Man, accidentally seems to be easier than intentionally. Yes, that's the point. When it's intentionally done, man, you thought about it. You could have handled that. You could have stopped it. And because you chose not to stop it and you went ahead and did it, that tells me you had something against me, that you wanted to hurt me, man. And so through all of that, we're talking about how the bitterness will come up in us and it will damage people. I did not hold any bitterness in my heart towards that. Man, I was so young, I didn't even know. Sometimes it seemed like the older we get, the worse we get. What you mean by that? Say the older we get, you know how they used to say the more ornery folk. Seem like the older we get, the more ornery we get, or the worse we get. Because as a child, when we played around as a child and we got hurt, we cried, we was in pain, and we blamed JoJo hit me or Derek punched me or whatever the case may be. But 2 minutes later, we back playing together. Once we done got wrapped up, bandaged up, and boo-boo kissed, going back and play. We go right back and we play with the same ones that hurt us. We done forgot about it. I ain't see the kids go back and say, yeah, I don't like you because you punched me down and you made me cry. And they go right back and play. And once they get to playing again, they forget all of that. All of that stuff is gone. But the older we get, Lord have mercy, it seems like the harder it is for us to forgive stuff and get past it because we think too hard and we put our feelings and our emotions. We walk so much by flesh and our feelings and our emotions. Man, I got to get off of here because my time is up. My podcast wasn't supposed to be that long. I thought I was going to try to pull somebody on here, but I couldn't do it. I'll have it set up the next time, though, Pastor. I'll have it set up correctly the next time. So just going in and probably clicking a couple of buttons. But as we get older, it seems like it's hard for us to forgive. Bitterness, it hurts us and it hurts others. Pain, man, I'm telling you, we don't like pain. We don't like trauma. We don't like that stuff. Man, I'm telling you. And he said that bitterness springing up will trouble you. In other words, oh man, watch this. That bitterness will rob you. That bitterness will demolish you. That word trouble in the Greek talks about being wounded and killing and looting and demolishing. Bitterness will demolish you. Man, we talking good tonight. Bitterness will demolish your life. If you've ever had any bitterness in your life, or you ever experienced bitterness, you know how painful that thing was. You know the anguish that it put you through. Man, it almost, it just makes your life miserable. That bitterness, and here's a word that's really harsh, but it causes you to understand what bitterness will do to you. Bitterness will rape you. Jesus, it will take from you what you should have. It will take from you what is rightfully yours. Man, a painful ordeal. It's a troubling thing. And because you go through that and it robs you and it does this to you, you will in turn hurt somebody else. Why? Because hurt people hurt people. He said, and many be defiled. That word defiled means to be marked or to be stained. Watch this. To be marked or to be stained with the same ordeal or the same bitterness that you're going through. The same pain that you're feeling, the same anguish that you're going through. You're marking them for the same. Man, you're putting them in the position to have the same processes or the same things that you have. And so when this happens, we give them spirits, we give those demons the legal right to aggravate the bitterness in us. When we walk around in unforgiveness and bitterness we give those demons the legal right to aggravate us, to aggravate the pain, to aggravate. It's like somebody constantly pouring salt on your wound, or somebody constantly taking a needle and just stabbing it in the cut, or pouring, putting alcohol. Somebody constantly pouring something that's going to hurt you onto your wound. Man, oh man, bitterness is rough. And so that brings me back to my close here. The initial question, and this is not all of I'll pick it up in my next segment, in my next chapter of the book of Acts. And for those of you that are not aware, the book of Acts means the book of Apostle Chris Tyson Sr. And that's my podcast name. That's what I'm going to do. And we're going to deal with certain topics. And so as I close out with this, many be defiled and they be stained and they open the door. We're going to talk about some more of this on next week on my next podcast, Lord's willing, and we'll get back into this. And hopefully I have things more set up where we can really discuss and dialogue. And I want y'all to interact. I want y'all to get into this. I want y'all to talk. I want you to throw some things out there. And so that brings me back to my initial question, and I'll close with this. Can we really forgive and forget? And I know we discussed this sometime and we've taught on this and we did, but I want to just bring this discussion because I like to pick people's brain. I like to see where other people's mindset is, because sometimes they can enlighten what we already know and give us a better, insight. And so the little thought I threw out, I heard somebody say this some time ago, said, I can forgive you, but I can't forget. I can forgive you, but I can't forget it. I can forgive you for what you did to me, but I will never forget it. You ever heard somebody say that? Maybe we said it. I will forgive you. I'll forgive you, but I will never forget it. What does that really mean? Like somebody would say, what does that even mean? What about the pain, but no bitterness? What about the pain, but no bitterness? Somebody help me with that. Denise asked the question, what about the pain, but no bitterness? I would pose to ask the question, are we healed yet? We haven't healed yet. Because bitterness is just one aspect of unforgiveness. Bitterness is one aspect of unforgiveness. Bitterness is one aspect of forgiveness. And so sometimes when we never properly, especially when we don't do it correctly, when we don't properly forgive and go through the healing process of that, we will still encounter pain in some areas because we haven't brought closure to that yet, and we have not properly dealt with it and allowed that thing to heal. Because if there's still pain, that means the wound is still active. The wound is still there. The wound is still open, and healing hasn't fully taken place. And I'll even say this. If you've ever had a wound, that wound can be closed and it can have a scar or a scab, but it's still painful because it hasn't healed totally deep inside. It has not completely healed. Have you ever had a wound and it looked okay on the top, but underneath there was still a situation going on? You could still feel the pain. It looked decent on the top, but when you touch it, it was still painful because something was setting it, something was still there. It had not fully healed yet. And so you could not be in bitterness and still suffer pain from something that was done to you. And so this is where then we have to pray and ask God to heal us and then continue to walk in unforgiveness. Now, unforgiveness, when you talk about or you deal with unforgiveness, we've got to make sure that it's truly unforgiveness and not just something that we're saying, but unforgiveness entails some action that goes along with it, and it entails a releasing, a letting go of. Sometimes it even takes confronting the person, if that is possible, and say, hey, this hurt me, or what you did hurt me. They may not even know it, and all that good stuff, and just clear the air and say, hey, I need to get some release on this and some closure on this because this is still bothering me. So I hear what you're saying, Denise, that, what if there's pain and no bitterness? I think I lost it. There it is. What about the pain but no bitterness? That means that there's still some healing that needs to take place. And that starts with that person. It starts with that person, a releasing and a letting go and a praying and say, Lord, heal me from this. Take this pain away from me and allow the Lord to heal you. All right. So I'm looking at those that are answering the question that we can forgive but not forget. If you forget, how can you have a testimony of how God can deliver from unforgiveness? To say something like that, you are letting them know they have control over you. So I have one that's saying we can forgive but not forget. Denise, I hope that helped you. I hope that gave you some clarity. I mean, because this is where we can talk. This is where we can talk. We throwing it out there. Pain doesn't necessarily mean that you are walking in bitterness, that you have bitterness. It just means that there's something there. There's some closure there that needs to take place. There's some healing that needs to take place because there are some other aspects, again, of unforgiveness that we're going to talk about. We're going to deal with. Just can't hit them all tonight. That we're going to talk about that may be something spoken or said that could even help you even in that area, or whoever is walking in that area, to let them know that there is still healing that can take place. Okay, so Joyce said we can forgive but not forget. If you forget, how can you have a testimony of how God can deliver from unforgiveness? The pastor says to say something like that, talking about I forgive you, but I'll never forget. To say something like that, you are letting them know they have control of you. Leslie says, I think we can forget it as far as constantly bringing it up. Gotcha. I forgive you, but I'll never forget. My question would be, what purpose is the remembering? The remembering, is that, am I saying it right? What purpose is the remembrance serving? What purpose is the remembering serving? If I'm constantly remembering it, and when I think about it, and like Joyce said, I could bring it up to serve as a testimony of what happened, of how the Lord delivered. Or I could be remembering it, and when there's pain still attached to it, then I'm going to regurgitate all this stuff all over again. What is it going to do to me? How is it going to affect me? Hmm. I forgive you, but I will never forget. How do you wipe it from your mind? I feel it's the heart of how you mean forget, not to remember the pain and anguish of it. Actually, you want the offender to remember as long as you do to get them to feel bad. Oh, man. So now this is something we'll probably deal with in the next segment, because I came on earlier and threw this out, and I wish y'all would have been on here earlier. We could have hit it. I forgive you, but I can't, but I won't forget. And again, that goes back to my question. Mama said just the presence of that person causes you to remember. Yep. Just the person of the presence of that person can cause you to remember. Now, when you remember it, what are you remembering? Are you remembering the pain? Are you remembering? And when I say remembering, it brings with it a sense of all of the feeling that I felt, or everything that was associated with it. How I felt, what they did, how they looked when they did it, or whatever the case may be. We can remember what happened. We'll never forget what happened. But when people say something like, I forgive you, but I'll never forget it, that means you're going to constantly hold that over my head when you see me. So in all actuality, you have not forgiven me. When you forgive me, or you forgive that person, you release them of that. You don't hang that over their head anymore. So on down the line, if something else happened, what you gonna come back and bring that up and say, I remember you did this. I remember you did that. Oh, I ain't forgot about that. Well, I thought we squashed that. I thought we handled that. So that tells me there was still something in you because of the situation that happened that you're still holding against me, that you haven't released yet. When you say, I forgive you, you don't have to go back and say, I'll never forget it. What is the point of saying that? You're telling me that you're going to constantly hold that over my head. I already know you ain't going to forget what happened. But, we've got to let what happened be something of the past, in that it will not harm or prevent the relationship that we're supposed to have. I hear yes. I hear you. Yes. We're not. Why even throw that up? I forgive you, but I'll never forget it. You telling me right now that you don't forgive me. You're telling me you don't forgive me. I know we're not going to forget it. The only one that is capable of forgetting trespasses and things like that is God. He said, as far as the east is from the west, so far have I removed your trespasses or your transgressions from you. He said, and I'll cast them things into the sea of forgetfulness. That means God will not hold us accountable or hold our past trespasses against us after he has forgiven us. He know what we did to hurt him. But when we come to him for forgiveness, he forgives us of that. And we don't deal with that no more. Now, here's the key to that. With the forgiveness that God has given me and with the love that he has towards me and I have for him, I should not want to go that route and hurt him like that anymore if we have a relationship. If we have a relationship. This is why David was called a man after God's heart. He was after God's heart. He knew that when he sinned and he messed up and he prayed and asked God to forgive him, he knew he did not want to hurt God like that no more. And if God could forgive him of that, in turn, I can be a better person towards God. Or if you can forgive me of my wrongdoing, I in turn should be a better person towards you. And not try to make you remember or cause you to remember that stuff no more. Or throw it back up in your face. God don't forgive us and throw stuff back up in our face. Yeah, Joyce, I remember you was out there drinking. I remember, David, I remember. I remember what was going on. I remember what you did. How you hurt me. God don't do that. So we have to learn how to, because our makeup, our DNA, our mind, who we are. Man, my time is gone. Because we were brought up in sin, that is who we are. We like to bring stuff up. We like to hurt people because we were damaged. We were broken. We were all messed up. That's what we knew. But now being brand new and new in Christ, we have to learn God's ways, how he does things. Remember the disciples say, how often shall I forgive my brother? In one day. Should I forgive him? Jesus said, he said, should I forgive him 7 times? If you do 7, no, he says until 7 times or 70 times 7. I know them boys was like, man, you got to be out your mind. You done lost your ever-loving mind, Jesus. 490 times in one day, somebody offend me, I got to forgive them. How in the world is that possible? And if we want God to forgive us, we must forgive others. Yes, sir. We've got to. We must forgive others. Because if we don't, like I said, it disqualifies us from being forgiven by God. If we don't forgive others, it disqualifies us. If we don't forgive others, we are disqualified from being forgiven of God ourselves. Oh, man. All right. I'm going to end it right here. Say, yes, we got to do it. We must do it. So I thought this was a little fitting intro on my first podcast. So, yep. Forgiveness, man, that's one of the biggest things. That's one of the biggest things that we as the children of God, we have to deal with. We walk around, and I told you, we just going to talk about some topics. We're going to talk about some things. I mean, we're going to get into some heavy topics, some stuff we may not even like to talk about, all that kind of stuff. Hey, I'm all down for it. I'm going to try to have some guests in, some good people that will come in and give us more information on all of this good stuff, because I don't know everything, but I'm going to have them to share. It's going to be some good stuff. So y'all hang in with me as I try to keep this thing going, because I just feel like this is something that the Lord has placed in my heart to do, and I want to act on it. I want to do this. All right. Thank all of y'all for chiming in. Thank all of y'all. Mama said, but can we let them know why we are hurting because of what they did? Yes, we can let them know. That's one of how we handle it, how we deal with it, how we bring closure to it. Let them know, because sometimes they don't know. Sometimes they did. And see, that goes back to what I said when I was talking about my finger. That person may not have known my finger was there and they did that. They may not have known they hurt me. That person that hurt you may not have known that they hurt you. But you walk away, you run away thinking something, and they don't even know, what they did. And you're holding something against them. And if you never tell them or you never talk about it, how do you bring closure? How do you even help that person? All they know is, man, why is Mama Tyson looking at me like she keep looking at me like, or she don't hug my neck no more. She don't even shake my hand. Did I do something wrong? Did I say something wrong? What did I do? And sometimes they might come to you and say, I notice you don't shake my hand no more, Mother T. I notice you don't hug me. You don't even talk to me. Was it something that I said? Was it something that I did? Boom, the door is open. Well, here is why I'm feeling like I'm feeling. Here is why. Here is what's happened. This is what happened. And they might say, oh, wow, I did not know that. I didn't know that hurt you. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. We don't know how to bring closure to stuff. We don't know how to handle things correctly. And sometimes folk don't want to handle it the correct way. No way. Because first of all, they really didn't like you. And now you gave them a real reason why they don't like you. I didn't like Leslie no way. Now she really done teed me off. I know I couldn't stand her. Now you really got an ought. Now you really got something. Yes, Elder Neil, communication is key. Exactly, Joyce. We might be the offender and not even know it. And so this is why we walk in, Jesus said, forgive 70 times 7. Whether you know it, whether you don't know it, whether, whatever the case may be, because we don't know who or how many people we done offended in a day. Man, if you done offended 490 people in one day, you a miserable somebody. Man, 490 times. Let me get off this thing. Y'all Redskins game is about to come on. And so, yeah, there it is. But there's a lot to it. We're going to try to chat it up a little bit more next go round, Lord's willing. Look, thank y'all for chiming in. I shared with some of them earlier as I was on that one of the outreach ministries that we work with at the church, they're requesting some blankets be donated because they want to get blankets out to the homeless. And I'm calling this Operation Share the Warmth. Operation Share the Warmth, and they are in need of blankets, and they were requesting that if anyone have any used blankets that they want to give away, some blankets that they want to donate or buy or whatever the case may be, and share to take to the homeless, to those, because there's a pandemic now and people are just out in the streets or whatever the case may be. The situations have really gotten bad. Oh Lord, there was another question. We're gonna chat that. We're gonna deal with that next week. What if you try to make amends, but they will not acknowledge you? As long as you tried, then you shake the dust and you go on about your business. As long as you forgive, if they don't want to amend, they don't want to accept it, they don't want to reconcile, you move on in God. You move on in God. They are the miserable ones. They are the ones that have to deal with all of that. Exactly. You've done what God requires you to do. If they don't accept it, shake the dust and you go on in peace and you walk in forgiveness. Yes, that's right, Pastor. Keep it moving. Keep on going. You keep on going. Because we can't allow people that choose to walk in unforgiveness have power over our lives of what we do. If I choose to walk in forgiveness, I'm not going to let the person that chooses to walk in unforgiveness have power over my life and direct my destiny. Man, what are you talking about? I cannot. Bless you, sir. Bless you, Charles. Bless you, sir. Bless you, man of God. I cannot let people that want to walk in unforgiveness control my destiny. Man. Because, again, we got to weigh the pros and cons of unforgiveness. And look at that thing, and I'm telling you, just like I said earlier, when you weigh the pros and the cons of walking in unforgiveness, you will quickly see that unforgiveness is not what you want, because the cons will outweigh the pros. When you write the first con, you done outweigh the pros. That's right. The blood is no longer required at your hand. And so, yeah, let them do what they do, but you do what's required of you. And so, Operation Share the Warmth. We want to supply, misery loves company. And that's what they're trying to do. Try to keep you in their company, in their miserable company. But I refuse to walk in and dwell in misery. Ooh, Lord, if I got to leave you there all by yourself, I'm going to say my goodbyes and my farewells and leave you in your miserable state all by yourself. I'm not going to dwell there. If you don't want to come out with me, you can stay. You're welcome to stay right there. But I'm not going to live in misery. I choose not to live. I refuse to live in misery. Man, oh man. And so y'all got to let me get off. So when Operation Operation Share the Warmth. And if you all want to share as far as donating blankets to the homeless, please let me know. You can hit me up on Messenger and say, hey, I have so many or whatever amount of blankets I want to donate for Share the Warmth. I have some blankets that I want to share. If you don't have any blankets and you want to sow a seed, because I can buy blankets, I'm looking at purchasing some in bulk. And if you want to be a part of that, you want to sow a seed into that, into the outreach ministry, the Cash App is on the screen. Whether it's $5, whether it's $10, whatever you want to donate. If you want to donate $20, that's fine. I can purchase some blankets and take them and we will distribute them. We will have them donated and distribute them to those that are in need, the homeless, because we want to help them even in this cold weather, however way we can. If you can't get a warm meal to them, if you can't get clothing out to them or whatever, this is a way that you can do some ministry. You can help with the outreach ministry. We don't do enough of it, that we can give back to those. We can share the blessings that God has given us. And this is how we can become channel of blessings, that as God has blessed us, we allow the blessings to flow through us, and we can see and we can send those blessings right back out to somebody else. And God constantly will bring blessings to you because he knows you're going to let blessings flow through you. And sometimes God can't get stuff to you because he can't get stuff through you. But I'm just asking those of you that will share, if you want to share this, put it out. We want to donate some blankets, however you want to put it out. With Operation Share the Warmth. We want to donate some blankets. So if you don't mind, if you have the opportunity to, and the change or the money to do that, $5, whatever you want to donate, sow it into that Cash App, and we will be so grateful and get those blankets and get them out to the people that need them this winter. All right. God bless you all. Love y'all. Thank God for all of you that have been chiming in. This has been the first episode of the book of Acts, the book of Apostle Chris Tyson Sr. This was the first chapter. And so I'm looking forward to more chapters and engaging with you and seeing us be encouraged and growing in the things of God. All right. Love y'all. And I'm about to get out of here because I'm going to see what these Redskins go, or these, however you call them, the Washington football team, Elder David Neal, new or used blankets, either one. You can donate. You can get new blankets. New blankets cost a pretty good penny. Some good blankets, they cost a pretty good penny. But I found a site where I can order bulk, brand new blankets. And they're really cost effective, but you have to buy them in bulk. So I plan to do it that way. So if you want to sew into that, $10 would be great. That will help us get some blankets. If we can get, enough people to sew, we can go ahead and get them. If you want to clean the used ones you have, let me know what you got. I'll meet you at the church, or I'll meet you somewhere and pick them up, as long as you ain't way out there in East Jablip somewhere. But we can meet up and then we can get those blankets and get them out to those that are in need. So either new or used, we can do it that way. All right. God bless you all. I love you all. Y'all stay safe, and I will catch you on the next go round on the book of Acts. Love y'all. Talk to you later.